Chike, good morning and thank you for having me.
All right, this morning, headlines everywhere. Some key headlines here, especially coming from the budget, the passing of the budget. The submission of the budget to the National Assembly by the president, and more borrowings, more borrowings. However, 20.5 trillion naira budget, NACCIMA, LCCI, experts fault Buhari's borrowing plan and subsidy. Aren't you worried about the borrowing plan of the president or this federal government to fund a budget of consumption?
Yes, I think we are more worried now than before in the history of our country, in our fiscal history. Because if you look at it, the budget presentation are just outlined another occasion to worry. Because you look at the tenets of the budget is full of deficits, and at the end of the day, the actual size of the budget is like less than half of what the president presented yesterday. I think there's a need for conscious budget reform in the country because if you have a budgetary appropriation, it must reflect the urgent national economic priorities. There are so many concerns about the value and other reforms in the fiscal leakages of the country. Because even recently, the Auditor General of the Federation did say that there are concerns. And if there are concerns with our fiscal status as a country, it means economically all is not well. So if you look at the area of budget reform that we talk about, we must have budgetary allocation that reflect urgent national economic priorities, like I said earlier. So if you look at the 2023 national budget as just presented by the federal government, by Mr. President, it has amplified the troubling fiscal outlook for the economy. We have a disturbing economic outlook in the country before now, but the budget has further heightened our fear because if you look at it economically speaking, you discover that this budget has nothing really to offer the people of the country. Because if you critique the budget as presented by Mr. President, you discover that expenditure continue to accelerate amid consistent weak revenue performance. And when you have very weak revenue performance, you continue to have a situation year in, year out where our budget will not be performing. Because if you look at 20.51 trillion naira and we have revenue projection of 9.73 trillion, then definitely you are looking at a deficit of 10.78 trillion. So if you look at all of this, put the probability on board, you discover that the deficit might even grow bigger before the end of the year 2023 based on the track record of revenue underperformance over the last couple of years. How do I mean? Our revenue is underperforming because revenue to budget, revenue to GDP is a far cry. We suffice to say what the government can do rather than borrowing is to expand the scope of our revenue. Look at alternate means of revenue generation. Because right from the presentation of this budget, we are having clauses of the huge deficit, which means we are only trying to climb the table to become taller. Because economically speaking, a time will come where the table has to be removed and we'll come back to our original projection.
Austin,
That is to
quickly, from the budget, it's saying fuel subsidy is not sustainable and it will be removed. That's coming from the government. However, the concern should be that the oil price benchmark was put at $70 per barrel to project this budget. Now, what if in the international market the oil price comes down? What happens?
Yes, that would not be the first time. This is a budget, and if we call it a budget, that is the revenue plan and expenditure of the governments, is still subject to review. We have had calls even under the Buhari administration to review our budget benchmark. If it comes down below $70 per barrel, most likely we are going to review the benchmark again through the instrumentality of the National Assembly. So basically, that is what it means. In recent time, I think about 2 months ago, statistics shows that Angola earned over 10 billion US dollar in terms of money made from crude oil. But in Nigeria, we have continued to be on the negative side as a result of crude oil theft. If you read this budget very well, it suggests largely that CBN will accelerate its financing of the fiscal deficit due to our revenue performance trajectory. The public debt stock is growing, and as it stands today, it is currently around 42 trillion naira. So before the end of 2023, for example, if we continue this borrowing trend, we might get to a level where our debt, public debt, will rise astronomically to about 70 trillion or thereabout. Yes, the president talked about unsustainability of the subsidy regime. That is quite obvious. It is saying just the obvious, re-echoing the obvious, economically speaking. Because if you look at it, you can't continue to service consumption at the detriment of critical sector of the economy. A situation whereby debt servicing a low and subsidy, for example, would take up to about 6 trillion. How do we cope with that as a country with a budget of 40 trillion? So for me, it is no longer sustainable to keep subsidy. But my worry majorly is that what are these government be doing? After spending over 7 years in office, by next year the president will be handing over. By this time next year, there will be a new government in the country. Then the president suddenly just realized that subsidy will have to go. What has he done for the period of 8 years or over 7 years to date to actually ensure that subsidy regime become a thing of the past? It is not a rocket science, because you can't build something on nothing. We suffice to say that before subsidy can go fully, you need to have a local refining capacity. So for me, the president has failed in the oil sector because he has not been able for the period under review to make our refinery work.
Okay, Austin.
And if our refinery cannot work,
yes,
there's no way we can talk about subsidy removal.
Okay, Austin.
That's the point.
We'll be moving to some other subject matter this morning. However, kindly do something about your background, because we can hear someone or some noise from the background there. Okay, let's move straight to ASU here. It says, go back to work immediately. Appeal court orders ASU. Now that the court has ruled, what will happen to ASU? Will ASU go back to school?
Well, I hope so. Let's agree that ASU will, at this time, go back to work. Because the industrial courts ruled before now that ASU should go back to work. ASU has gone on an appeal, and the appeal court has said that for it to fully determine the case of ASU against the federal government, ASU had to go back to work. And don't forget, according to what they call the TDA, Trade Dispute Act, I think Section 33 of the Trade Dispute Act says that for a case to be in the courts, in the case of ASU, there has to be a reversion to the original states, which is popularly referred to as the status quo, which means that in the face of the law, ASU cannot be in the courts for industrial disputes and at the same time refuse to resume academic activity. So at this junction, I sincerely believe and hope that ASUU will go back to duty. We are not saying that the crisis is over. The industrial court did not say that the crisis should be over. The appeal court has not also said the crisis should be over, or the federal government is now free, is not guilty of the whole issue. But according to the law, for you to get whatever you want, you need to first of all resume duty. So legally speaking, I believe it makes no sense for ASUU to now proceed to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is most likely going to toe the same line, because the appeal court refused to set aside the pronouncement, the declaration of the industrial court. So for me, I also need to go back to work. Let us resume academic activity. You know, when this whole crisis started and it got to the issue of litigation, I did say that litigation or prescription or registry faction may not solve the problem. We have to sit down sincerely and committedly take a far-reaching decision that will help us to reposition the tertiary education in the country. And that is the level where we are now. Because I know that if the industrial court has also ruled otherwise, I know that the federal government will also find it difficult to obey. So there is no point trying to disobey court order. Let ASUU summon courage. Let them get brief from their lead counsel, their legal counsel, to resume academic activity. That you resume academic activity is just a matter of being law-abiding and just following the law and in compliance with court pronouncement.
Okay.
That does not equal the fact that all hostility has been suspended. That's just the truth.
Okay, so ASUU goes back to school or they go back to work. Academic activities start. What then happens to the negotiations that has been on the table all the while? Will it be jettisoned? Why would it have?
Don't forget.
Why should it go to court before it could be resolved?
That's the issue. I think that is majorly failure on the part of the federal government. The president has also said that it is no longer sustainable for tertiary education to be funded. I'm trying to quote Mr. President. He said it is instructive to note that government alone cannot provide the resources required for funding tertiary education. In most countries, therefore, the cost of education is jointly shared between the government and the people, especially at the tertiary level. You know, we have advised the government times without number. Give us elementary education, then people will sort themselves out with tertiary education. Give us primary education, qualitative, compulsory, and almost free. Give us secondary education, maybe up to JSS3. And at the end of the day, people will be well grounded. They can now decide from there to further their education, which will be purely borne by them or their parents. So that's the issue. It does not mean that if ASUU go back to the classroom, that negotiation are be jettisoned. Like I said earlier, I said it was unfortunate that we allowed this case to linger. And that the case is lingering does not mean that ASUU has increased its demand. The demand of ASUU has always been one for the past 2 years. But we have lack of commitment and sincerity on the part of the government, especially those who negotiate on behalf of the government. They are not committed to ending this crisis. If we have issues that cannot be resolved, then we'll have a give and take situation. You know, I said it earlier. I said ASUU should be magnanimous as far as this issue is concerned. There must be give and take. You can't continue to maintain a rigid position at every point in time, even in the face of negotiation. Like I said, also on the court order, it does not mean that, the case, the federal government has won against ASUU. No. Don't forget the determination of the original suit has not even come up at all. We are even talking about just preliminary pronouncement from the court that, for some time now, go back to duty, then allow the court to run. So we don't know what the determination of the main suit by the federal government will be. But if I have my way as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I wish these cases are not gotten to this level. because after close to 8 months, by next week it will be 14th of October, and exactly on the 14th of October, it will be 8 months exactly that we have started this issue. And now it's at the level of litigation. We have not even made relative progress at all. That's the way I see it. All that the government is interested in is for ASU to go back to work. Now the court has ordered ASU to go back to duty. All that ASU is interested in is that, oh, the government must be committed. Don't forget, this is grievances as a result of willful renegotiated agreement. It was not Buhari administration that came up with this agreement. It predated the Buhari administration. But Buhari administration has also renegotiated this agreement up to about 4 or 5 times. How come we have not been able to get over this issue? Which means that those who are negotiating on the side of the government, they are merely playing to the gallery, jeopardizing the future education of this country, which ought not to be so. That's just the issue. It ought not to be so. So, like I said, let's also go back to the status quo, the original position before the crisis. It does not mean that the negotiation has been jettisoned. The case is still ongoing. Let's allow the judicial process to run its full course.
All right. In 2 minutes, you just react to this because we'll be going on a break shortly. In the budget, 470 billion naira has been budgeted for education in Nigeria. And so, with this ASU debacle with the government, what chunk of that money will be going to ASU? Will the arrears be part of it?
Definitely. Arrears will be part of it, because if you look at what the president said, he talked about a determined effort to resolving the issue. The total sum of 470 billion in the 2023 budget, he also talked about our constrained resources. It's meant for 2 things. One, for the revitalization and salary enhancement in the university system in Nigeria. The federal government has also graciously, through the Ministry of Education, approved a salary enhancement for the tertiary workers, the tertiary institution workers. I think for lecturers and other cadre, about 23 point something percent. For professors, I think over 30% salary enhancement. See, we have to make it more attractive. We have to make it more appealing for that level of education to be very qualitative, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to get people still retained. That's just the issue. So the 470 billion, I'm not sure this can solve all the problem, but we have said this times without number. Come up with an offer. We can't continue to foot drag for the past 8 months without a meaningful offer. I don't think ASU itself want the federal government to meet all the demand by fiat. Come up with a substantial offer, a reasonable offer. Come up with genuine commitment, and this issue will become a thing of the past. So 470 billion naira, I think it's a whole lot of sacrifice on the part of the government in a budget of 2023 that is full of deficits. So it's a good one that 470 billion is being earmarked for next year. So let the government also look at other areas where funds can be reallocated to the educational sector. Because it's not just the issue of IPPIS, it's not just the issue of salary enhancement for university teachers. It's also about revitalization of the educational system, especially in the area of research and infrastructure in the university. CHIKE, just take a stroll to some of our universities in Nigeria. They are living in their past glory. Some of them are a ghost of itself. That's just the truth.
Austin, we'll
dilapidated infrastructure and what have you.
Yeah.
So, ASU is revitalization of the sector.
All right. We'll go on a break now. And then when we come back, we'll look at other issues inside the dailies this morning. 470 billion naira for education to pay arrears. We're not thinking of how to get more money to fund the education sector. Stay tuned, don't go away. It's still the Break at Dawn newspaper review on 32 FM 94.9.
ìdápadà ògo tó sọnù 7 Tuesdays prophetic prayer program Christ Apostolic Church òkè ìdáǹdè ring road zonal headquarters àjẹgbé nílùú Ìbàdàn gbé 7 Tuesdays prophetic prayer program kalẹ̀ látọjọ́ Tuesday September 27 di November 8 ìdápadà ògo tó sọnù ọlọ́run àwọn bàbá wa tó máa ń wáyé lọ́jọ́ Tuesday ibẹ̀ lọ́lọ́run ti pàṣẹ wípé 7 Tuesdays prophetic prayer program ó sọ̀kalẹ̀ láago 9 àárọ̀ ni ó máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ olùgbàlejò ní Pastor Ṣògo Arúlógún JP zonal superintendent CAC òkè ìdáǹdè àjẹgbé ring road Ìbàdàn àwọn tí ọlọ́run ó máa lò ní labesta praise evangelist Sunday Olúkìtìbí Jasper evangelist Tọ́pẹ́ Ilésànmí Tomisin Adams evangelist Mrs Fọlọ́runṣọ́ evangelist Gbénga Adéjùmọ̀ 7 Tuesdays prophetic prayer program látọjọ́ Tuesday September 27 di November 8 ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ képe ọlọ́run ká lè gba ògo tó sọnù padà.
Trailblazer Academy and Edu Consult, an ultra-modern tutorial center situated in a conducive learning environment. With Trailblazer Academy, admission into universities and other higher institutions of learning is made easy. Trailblazer provides qualitative A-level lectures to secondary school leavers willing to gain admission into 200 level in the university through direct entry. Student center lectures for students preparing to write their WAEC, NECO, GCE, UTME, and post-UTME. Students also benefit from career path counseling, computer training, and admission support. All these are provided to students at minimal charges. Trailblazer Academy and Edu Consult is located at kilometer 3 opposite Ajorosun Garden City, Oduoba, Moniya Isenyi Road, Ibadan. Call 081-6599-9425 or 090-4705-1634. Trailblazer Academy and Edu Consult. Honesty, integrity, and excellence is our hallmark.
No matter what I do, you love me unconditionally. You show up for me every day. No matter when I show you.
A mother's love is unconditional. Nothing serves this love better than a bowl of Indomie. So, show some love with Indomie.
Show me love. You show love.
Zumbo, why are you going looking like you want to beat somebody? See me see trouble below. I beg, see wetin I order. See wetin dem deliver give me. E resemble, and I don't pay online. Chai, now why I like to buy on Jumia? I feel return wetin I buy for free within 7 days after it has been delivered to me. And you tell me before, oh, now Jumia go dey buy from now. But first, that's in apparel. Now me and you today. Zumbo. Enjoy the peace of mind that comes with free returns when you shop on Jumia. Terms and conditions apply. Jumia, your everyday delivered.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
All right, welcome back. It's the Breakout Newspaper Review on 32 FM 94.9. On this dial, I'll be looking at this myself, Austin Edumo, making some sense out of these headlines. Let's go straight to our Facebook page. What do we have there? Also, Francis Namani, Olasheinde Abib Olayinka, okay, Akin Alabi Samuel, greetings to you all. Let's go straight to Suleiman Sharif. Good morning, 32 FM crew. The federal government of today is, it says the federal government of today is, let me get that message again, is budgeting about 6 trillion naira for debt servicing in 2023 budget. Nigeria is being dressed in borrowed robes under the APC regime. If our refinery is not functional, and it's not effective, subsidy will not go. What a shameful government. That's coming from Suleiman Sharif. Boluwatife Ademijuwon says Nigeria is a country that solely depends on importation of goods, and it's a pity that we import refined petroleum products when the country is one of the blessed countries with crude oil, and yet the government that promised a refinery per year has found it difficult to even maintain the one on ground. Okay, a long read there. Abiodun Olugbenga Ogundiran is saying appeal court is the terminal court in the ASU case. They can't go to the Supreme Court. That's coming from Abiodun there. Okay, Omo Basharon Abiola says, honestly, all the ministers working under this administration as a team are not competent enough to be the various positions they are in, and also the legislative arm of government Okay, you're right up here. Okay, message passed, somewhat incoherent. The judgment against ASU is somehow. That's coming from Okediran Babatunde. If someone is convicted, for example, to be killed, does it mean that for him to obey court judgment, he must be killed and then come back to appeal? We have seen situations that governors are removed through court judgment but stayed put to Supreme Court judgment. Okay, Adela Konwasiu there. Okay, Ravi Hafiz Abiola, I'll get back to your message there. Austin Idumo, quickly, the question here from what this person put up here, which is Okediran Babatunde. I want to put it to you before we open the phone lines. The phone lines will be opened in a bit, 0705 5949 and 0809 7949. And for international callers, it's plus 234 906 2949. Austin, if ASU calls off the strike today and after a week they resume with another strike, what will be the implication?
I think as a matter of law, it's a precondition that they have to call off the strike. So if they are patriotic and law-abiding, I think that is the way to go. The best way for settlement of industrial dispute is through collective bargaining. That's just the truth.
Okay.
Which means that this thing will be best handled on a roundtable discussion, which is negotiation that have not been allowed to see the light of the day. They are negotiating, but they are not making progress for the past 8 months.
Okay.
It is not like the governorship case. This is industrial disputes. And there is a code that guides cases like this. It is referred to as Trade Dispute Acts. So it is not like the cases of governors being sacked or a civil matter that will terminate at the Supreme Court that, until the Supreme Court gives judgment. It is not these courts that are forcing ASU to go back to work.
So this is a peculiar case.
Yes, a peculiar case. The court are only reminding ASU of the Trade Dispute Acts that when a trade
Austin, kindly hold your thoughts there. Yeah, Austin, kindly hold your thoughts there. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where you are calling from? Your name again? Okay, let's have your thoughts quickly.
I want to ask this question. In 2015, the last budget of the PDP administration that UPC said we are leader was 4 trillion naira. Today, 2023 budget, more than 2025. With this year, 2022, about 18 trillion, I don't know. So what are things I want to have? They said this good budget for the year, inflation, insecurity, and failure.
All right, Austin, he's asking the increment in the budget every administration, and he's asking what has changed in Nigeria. We'll get to that after this. Hello, good morning. Kindly turn down the volume on your radio. Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Tamata Alabama from Bodija.
All right.
Actually, the fact that they have decided to form research committees is a very good and welcome development, because we did research in Nigeria, and the government should think of paying them their backlog of salaries, because the lecturers are suffering, and you can't be paying senators so much a large amount of money and be paying professors such a little pittance. So we must think of reorganizing everything even from the basics. Austin has said the main thing. We have to reorganize the education system from the lower system. Maybe the government should fund the lower system and allow the higher system to work. And as campaigning and maybe the campaigns are started, we should think also how the politicians should discuss is how they want to solve the education sector, so that we won't be having these perpetual problems all the time. Once we can find the final solution, everything will work. The major thing now is that the government should think of paying the lecturers their salary. Thank you.
All right, thank you for calling. That's a caller there. 0705 500949 and 0809 7949. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. All right, you have to call back. Hello, good morning. Okay. I hope the network is not.
Okay, good morning. This is okay.
Good morning, okay.
Austin, there is a question somebody just asked. If ASU fall off and within 1 week they go back again, please, will help for. Are they not also thinking that ASU might also be thinking of that side? Okay, let's just obey, and after a week we go back. I think, I don't know. I have a little bit of reservation on the judgment. I actually think they would have looked at the two sides. Now the government will be doing as if they have won, but this is actually brewing more problems. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. On Facebook, Honorable Akinkumi Camille Dekurla says, I will advise everyone to go and read the law that guides employer and employee agreement. It is only in Nigeria or in public sector where employee turn to the employer. ASU should know they can't force their employer to do something. All right, let's pick this call before I come back to you. Austin, hello, good morning.
Good morning to the chicken.
All right, your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning, Austin.
All right.
You see, as you have no choice, you have to call out the fight. Go back to the classroom, back to lecture the people. Because you know, the issue of ASU doesn't start from this administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. It was started in 2009. And all their demands cannot be made at once. Let them go back to the classroom and continue fighting for their rights. That's what we are saying. We are not saying they are guilty. That is it. A nice day.
All right, and you too. Adela Kunwasiu. Good morning. How is Abidjan this morning? We also have here INT'L Rashidat. Good morning to you. Hello, good morning. Okay, call back. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from. Good morning.
Yeah, God bless you. This is Fagbemi.
All right. Let's have your...
As you have choice, it is people of APC that are have no choice. They are fighting for the goodwill of education. About the court, when the court ruled about Sunday Igboho, the government did not do any, did not obey the court. They went to appeal court. What happened to that? Please also explain that all to us. This is regular court. During Sunday, government did not obey it. The government is destroying Nigeria. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, Fagbemi there. Austin Edumo, over to you. Reaction to some of these callers.
Yes. When you look at the labor law, for example, it is binding on ASU as far as this case is concerned to go back to activity. I think that's the latest judgment or pronouncement from the appeal court. So we're also appealing to ASU. It is not as if this demand cannot be met. I said it earlier that collective bargaining is the solution and will have been the solution, rather than the government waiting until a dire minute, then now go to the court. Because at the end of the day, we might not be able to get the perfect solution. There's someone also talked about, it's only in Nigeria that employee dictate to employer. That is not even the case here. Because if you look at it, in industrial relation, for example, as an employee, for example, you can't determine the mode by which your payment can be paid. IPPIS is just a payment platform, but the federal government is holding to it as if everything depends on it, whereas it is not even an indigenous solution. It's a World Bank solution. Of course, this saves a lot of money if the federal government applies it. Another argument on the part of the government is that this IPPIS, if ASU is exempted from it, every other agency can also hide under the guise of, we have developed our own payment platform, give us leave to exit the IPPIS.
Okay,
so
hello.
I think it's an...
Okay, Austin, can you hold your thoughts?
We'll call you back again.
Your name is what?
I think the problem with ASU, is not said, is the amount of salary they are collecting priorities to maybe our senators and other people. I don't want us to focus more on the court judgment this morning. The court has said they should go back. But if we don't resolve some of these issues, it will still be a problem. You have to find a way of making the lecturers earn more money. And at the same time, all what you have been saying is for progress of the nation. You know, I like Bashir's statement most of the time. But if you say I should just go back, okay, what about the senators earning so much amount of money and the lecturers earning so few? So some of this have to be addressed so that the problem will go finally, eventually. And also, everything has to be structured. The way the structure of university system in Nigeria is not the way most advanced countries structure their universities. There is public, there is private, there is industry, there is parents, there is research development that fund the university. So all these things have to be taken. You can't be saying the lecturer should be paying the professor salary, paying the professor salary. And professors should be doing research projects that will earn them money and generate funds for the university. So that's why when they form the research institutes now, to coordinate is a very good and welcome development. You just can't tell them to go back.
All right.
If they keep on earning so little amount of money, it will be good for the country.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Okay, Dino Babatunde goes further to say the government is not sincere. No parent will send their kids to school under this condition. If students are forced back to school without engaging the students, anything can happen. This government will not address anything when ASU suspends the strike. That's coming from Okediro Babatunde there. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Olufemi from Oyo.
Olufemi from Oyo.
I just want people to know that if federal government is thinking that they have won the case, they are only deceiving themselves. It was supposed as a even if the ASU want to respect that judgment without appealing to Supreme Court, you know they can resume and without attending classes. So no sensible parents will allow the children to go to school because ASU can resume and will not go to classes. Then what is the importance of resumption? When that General Malame and people, they are embezzling money that can even solve this problem. Government is not looking at that side. They want to ask the ASU to resume, and they thought they have won. They have not won because even students themselves will not go because they know that we are going back to military junta during the democratic dispensation. Let's continue and see how it will end. God help us.
All right, thank you for calling 0705 5000 949 0809 7000 949. Austin is going to be a long stretch this morning, but let's pick this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from?
The other time I was talking about the court judgment asking OGBOGU. Somebody said I'm just giving false information. And God, I think God has justified my claims. Two, ASU don't have choice. If they resume today, the people said they should justify that they have been working. If they resume today and go back on strike, there's implication for them. They should shift ground. Jonathan personally signed 2009 agreement, 1.3 trillion. He gave them 200 billion. Why not hold Jonathan's ransom when we have money that time? I'm not saying federal government is not guilty. They are guilty, but I'm too much. I lost 2 years of my life because of this ASU strike, and they collect their money to take care of their own children. Prosperity will judge the majority of us in Nigeria. Have a nice time.
All right, thank you for calling. Austin, quickly, we have a long stretch this morning, so let's maximize the time now. You've heard some of the submissions from the callers, and let's hear your thoughts after these two calls. We'll pick two more calls before we hear your thoughts. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, good morning. This is Honorable Majid from Omi.
Good morning, Honorable.
Yeah, good morning. To me, I just want to talk about that issue of the ASU.
Okay.
Sir, I believe, it's just a suggestion anyway, I believe these people should have go back to the work. Then, immediately after the coming government, the coming administration, then they started this thing back. In order to safeguard the life of these children, they were in the house doing nothing.
But if ASU should play such a way, I believe it will even help those students. They should go back. Then the next thing, that will be the first point, the first call of points for them. Immediately after the next administration, I believe that should have even better than keeping the children inside in the house. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, Honorable, for speaking to us this morning. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, CHIKE, I'm calling back from Obasha.
Okay, make it brief. Make it very brief.
So please don't work in the case of ASU. We should please stop working the case of ASU. I'm talking in the interest of my of our Dali students, not for my.
Hello, Omobasharu. It went off from your own end there. Austin, ASU. Let's look at this headline before we pick more calls. Nationwide blackout looms as TCN staff plan to ground power sector again. Worrisome.
Yes, worrisome. I think this is is becoming one too many. At times you have a grid collapse. That has happened severally this year. Then we also have a situation where our grid workers want to also disrupt the supply services. I think the federal government, TCN most especially, should act on this through the Ministry of Power so that we not have a situation, the power that is epileptic before, you now have a situation where it will be shut down because of industrial issue. So let the government go ahead to do the needful. Let's engage them, because by the time they shut down, it will take a while for services to be restored. And that can also fuel damages to some of the weak power infrastructure that we have already. So that is the point I've always made. There will always be issue in some of these sectors, but proactively the government should devise a means of attending to them. Attending to them does not mean that you solve the whole problem at a glance, but you engage the people, give them promises that are realistic, give them promises that you can meet. It does not pretend the government has been serious when they enter into an agreement willingly, and at the end of the day, along the line, they will now be feeling as if somebody has made them to sign the agreement under duress. It does not speak well of the government. Apart from the issue of ASU, the issue of industrial relations at home, we have also done that internationally, where contract has to be revoked arbitrarily, and at the end of the day, we have to contend with every judgment debt. So the government must rise up to the occasion to ensure through the TCN that the power sector is not disrupted anymore.
All right. We'll pick more calls 0705 5949 0809 7949. Which one of these stories resonates with you this morning? Let's hear your own perspective to these headlines. In Kaolatunji on Facebook, we have a civilian government in Nigeria that continues to act like a military government because the president used to be a military dictator. Nigerians should be very careful in voting ex-dictators into public office. That's coming from Yinka Olatunji there. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning, Mr. CHIKE. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey,
this is who? Your name again?
Your face, your phone.
Hello, your name. Sorry, your name. Before you continue.
My name is Tayo and I'm calling from.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's very good to be personal. It's a nightmare. Now, where's the economy? Accountability. In fact, nothing is working. Look at the months.
Okay, I can barely hear you. Can you speak up a little bit? We can barely hear you.
We are even more policy today. No one knows to go into what sort of government for God to let them have it, think and have fear of God. Because I believe that God.
Okay, that line wasn't too clear, but we had an idea of what you're saying. Okay, 0705 5949 0809 7949. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello, everybody is my name.
All right, let's have your thoughts. All right.
It's very obvious that the majority of Nigerians are not literate. In both us with court judgment, I pity the officials of ASU. If they refuse to resume, they may be, the judge has the right to take them to prison and to be too vital. What is so serious about ASU? They are not the only workers union in this country. They are holding this nation to ransom. Let us go to that table and talk. Nobody knows everything, and nobody is a Socrates or King Solomon. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the roundtable has always been there, and they've been talking. Unfortunately, they've not resolved anything. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling?
Hello, good morning.
Your name?
All
right, let's have your thoughts, Olu.
The analyst was talking about payment of arrears to the ASU member.
Yeah.
I said, how do you pay somebody that did not work for you? As an employer, if you employ somebody that didn't work for you, you pay him.
Okay, that's your own thoughts there. Hello, good morning.
Chike, this is okay back. Austin, nobody will engage anybody. I was happy when Chike raised the issue of the TCN. Chike, if we remember, not up to about 3 months ago, something like that happened.
Yes.
They called them, and today, the same TCN is up again.
Yeah.
Nobody will engage anybody. The only thing they will do is, when these ones do that now, they will come against them. And we all will say they are wrong. And please, somebody said the sort of engagement in terms of labor law is different from Nigeria. I have about 15 of them from different countries I've read. In fact, I even think our own here, Chike, is a bit liberal than some of those countries. People should not just come and tell us what is not. We know what is happening here. We want the government to take up responsibility. They are not ready to take up responsibility. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Somebody said...
Please, your name. Your name first. Your name first. Your name first.
Mr. Matai and Obamiro.
All right.
He said, I've spoken this morning twice. He said, if you don't pay the lecturers, it shouldn't work. What about the legislators that are earning so many billions? There's so many millions. Let us be just now. If you are earning so much, you are not talking about that. Then you are saying if the lecturers don't, who are teaching a lot of students are producing graduates, engineers, and so on, as I am, that they shouldn't be paid just because they want to go for. I'm not saying the law is not applicable.
Yeah.
But let's just be fair, you know.
Yeah.
How can legislators senators be earning so much? We say we shouldn't pay the lecturers too. That's my own point of view.
Thank you for your opinion there. 0705 5949 and 0809 7949. Last caller before I turn to Austin. Hello.
Anybody that healthy politician should resign where he's working and join the political party and go to National Assembly. These people who are healthy today, when you see them tomorrow, you pity them. These politicians have a nice time.
All right, thank you. Austin, we have to go very soon. Your final thoughts.
Yes, I think ASU and the government just had to come to a truce. I think the problem majorly is with the government.
Yeah.
Because nobody has ever forced the government to negotiate or to do what they feel they cannot do. The issue of IPPI, sometimes ago, the government has also agreed that the university should come up with their own solution. I think there is somebody from the side of the government who wants us to continue to have this problem. That is the way I see it.
We have
because
to go.
If not, how can we be going back and forth on the same issue? So let there be a truce and let status quo be maintained. The status quo is that the children should go back to their classroom.
Thank you for featuring on the Breaker Dawn newspaper review this morning, Austin Idumo.
Thank you, Chike.
All right, up next is Baba Fendo with Temilade Aluko. Join me by 9 a.m. I shall be speaking with the Director of Publicity, spokesperson for the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress. That is Festus Kiyamo, SAN. He will be live on the podium this morning.